Dear Long Po, pardon my innocent question. I was told that during retreat, we are not supposed to read Dhamma books. But what about Dhamma books covering the section on meditation practices which are useful to clear the doubts on meditation? Please enlighten me. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Ajahn.
So normally before we start a retreat, then we've read many Dhamma books already. So we take this time of retreat to be a time for us to have mindfulness on our minds, reading our own minds. So being aware of the movements of the body, of the feelings which arise within the heart, that this is the path of practice. So if we read some books during this time and we understand what we've read, then good results can arise from that. But if we read and we don't understand, there's doubts that arise, that there are these different ways of meditation. Some people teach about noting rising, falling with the breath. Or some people teach Buddha, that there are many different traditions, many different ways. And we don't understand that, and we think that they're different, and then problems can arise. But really, it's all the same path. It's all sila, samadhi, and panya, this virtue, collectedness, and wisdom. It's all right view, right intention, right virtue, right livelihood, right effort, setting our hearts to develop mindfulness and samadhi, to cultivate wisdom, this noble eightfold path. It's what all of these paths are. But so if we don't understand that, we'll think that this Ajahn and this tradition, they teach differently. But really, these teachers, they teach in line with the methods that they themselves have used. So it's possible for doubts to arise and that to create chaos in our minds. So therefore, during these 9 days of retreat, we can put down all of the books and all of the scriptures and rather set our hearts on meditating and on developing mindfulness, making our samadhi firm, bringing peace to our acts of body and speech. And this already is the quickest way.
Dear Ajahn, at times during meditation, I become aware of a mind that is observing phenomena and observing itself. It seems to dictate and identify the truth of anicca, dukkha, and anatta. When I look at it, it goes into hiding. It tries to make things according to me or Buddhist Dhamma. It even dictates how some meditation should go. What do I do with this imposter, this saboteur? It is so sneaky. I know I am being misled, but I do not know how to stop it. Thank you. Sorry, there's a second question to it also. Why is meditation so tiring? It seems more tiring than all the work I do at home. Thank you, Ajahn.
So for the first part of the question, that one needs to observe one's mind and know what's going on, know if there's something fake there or if there's something real there. And so we just know that. And maybe we're not able to stop what's going on, but you know that right now you're being tricked. And so if this thing that's deceiving is saying something deceptive, then you just tell yourself that's not sure, it's impermanent. And it tricks you again, then you tell yourself, not sure, it's impermanent. Again, not sure, it's impermanent. And you just carry on doing this, saying this over and over again, and knowing what's going on as it's happening and seeing through it. As for the second question, feeling like meditation is exhausting, more exhausting than the other things you do. Well, it's that this external work is something that you're used to already. And if there was something that was heavy, say a 10-kilogram rock, and a child tries to lift that, they wouldn't be able to do it. But if it's an adult who's very strong, then they can lift it. Or perhaps if it's something less, maybe 5 kilograms, then someone with less energy will be able to do that. So it depends upon our energy. And we say that something is hard, but really it depends upon our own energy. If we're going to look externally, we can say that the rock is heavy, or people say the rock is heavy. But if we look internally, we can say that our own energy is insufficient. And that's just normal for things to be that way initially. It's like we're swimming against the current of a very strong river, and it's hard to do that. So therefore, just carry on training, and one day you'll get there. One day you'll be able to succeed. But it's not just that that's going to happen in the space of a single day of training. It's going to take many days, many weeks, many months, maybe even many years. But as you do that, then your mind will gain more energy. Just like if you train the body, then it gains more energy, and you can lift heavy things that before you weren't able to do, but now you can. So it depends upon your strength. And so just carry on setting your heart on that. You know, this going against the flow of the world and entering into the stream of the Dhamma. And it is something that's a bit hard to do, because if it were easy, then you wouldn't still be here in samsara, going between birth and death. But it's something you need to do, and one day you'll be able to succeed.
Dear teacher, I have faith in the Dhamma and strive to see the three characteristics in my daily life. Sometimes I have thoughts and aspirations to renounce, to ordain, but as I come from a family of non-Buddhists, I see many obstacles. For example, I think my parents will object to my going forth. Sometimes these obstacles seem like excuses for myself. Dear teacher, do you have any advice on how I should approach this? Thank you for your teachings.
So if you're not ready yet, then just carry on practicing for now. Develop mindfulness, keep your precepts well, and meditate first until these things become complete or full. And then in time, perhaps a knowing will arise. Your mindfulness samadhi gets better, and then perhaps you'll see clearly into the nature of our lives, that life is not sure, and that we're close to death. And if one stays as a layperson, it's like one is in a house that's on fire. It's burning with old age, sickness, and death, and this fire is getting closer and closer to us. So this is a simile using external things, but this knowing arises within the heart. You can think that if this actually happened externally, that you were in your house with your parents and your brothers and sisters, and you realized that the house was on fire. So you went to try to wake up your family members, but no matter how much you tried, you couldn't wake them up. Then you think that, well, if I stay here, then all of us are going to die. So if you see the situation clearly like that, then would you want to die along with everyone else? Or would you leave that house and try to find someone who is able to come and put the fire out? And then you can come back and help those at home. And so this is using an external analogy, but it's a knowledge that arises within the heart. It's like we're in a house that's on fire. And if for those who see clearly within their own minds like this, then no matter what birth they come into, no matter what religion they're in, they need to find a way out of this. They need to practice the Dhamma in order to free themselves from suffering.
So the question is from the physical retreat. Dear Long Po, I have been contemplating on the body for the past few days, and during walking meditation, I visualized others and myself as a skeleton, and occasionally, the image of a decomposing corpse arises. During a sit, in my mind, I tried to grab hold of my hands and thighs, but when I do so, it's as though the solidity turned to dust and there was nothing there. I felt the entire hall, floor, and my body collapse into emptiness, and my mind was filled with peace and spaciousness that had no boundaries in any direction. I noticed that the sense of self still exists, and I would like to seek your guidance on how to continue with the practice to eradicate the sense of self. Thank you, Long Po.
So this is peace that you're experiencing through having mindfulness and contemplating the body as being a skeleton or as a corpse that is decaying. So when the mind is at peace, then these kinds of feelings arise, or the state, the nature of the Dhamma appears, seeing the body is just breaking into dust, and there's nothing there. It's anatta, it's not self. It's something that breaks and changes, and then is anatta, it's empty. And so what should you do next? What you've been saying in the question, it shows that you're of the character that likes to contemplate the body, and this is appropriate. So just carry on doing this, contemplating the 10 asubha kammatthana objects. So like the body being a skeleton, you can start off with that, or it being a corpse and swelling up. So contemplate like this frequently, do this a lot, develop this a lot. And while you're contemplating, don't think about other things. Try not to do that, but rather focus on this object. And when you do that, then the state can arise again, this kind of peace comes up again, and then you can experience a temporary absence of any sense of self. And you know that the happiness that you experience from that is like this. So just carry on practicing as you have been, and do this a lot, develop it a lot.
So this is a question from the online retreat. Dear Long Po, after observing my breath for some time, there is an energy or qi pushing my body to various directions and stretching the muscles. Sometimes the movements are subtle and sometimes big. The body is light and the feeling is pleasant. Should I let my body flow naturally in that manner? Should I keep observing my breath or change to observing the flow of energy and body movement? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Ajahn.
So may you just have mindfulness there, knowing what's going on, knowing that the body is moving now, and however it moves, follow that and know what's happening. And when you do that, you have mindfulness there, you know what's going on, then both the body and the mind may become light, and peace arises. So possible here for wisdom to arise if the mind is in a still state. You see the body moving and see that that's just a body. It's not a being, an individual, a me or you. And here there is wisdom that's coming up. So there's no need to oppose these movements or try to force them to stop. You can just follow them with your mindfulness and your awareness.
Dear Ajahn, I will try to keep this short as I can. About a year ago, a co-worker died of cancer and her funeral was broadcasted live. As I watched the burial, which was not conventional as the body was not in the casket, but just wrapped in the white cloth, I experienced enormous anxiety and fear. Afterwards, the images of the dead body and this person would appear in my mind, which disturbed and disquieted my mind. Shortly after, I turned to Buddhist teachings and meditation. In summary, my question is, how do I deal with the situation when the images of the funeral appear in my mind during the meditation, taking me away from the object of the breath? Thank you, Ajahn.
So seeing this image of someone who has died appear like this is a nimitta, or a mental image which is coming up, and something that has been kind of stuck in the mind. And so when you're watching your breath and this image comes up, then contemplate this image, but don't be shocked or afraid, but rather see that your own life will have to be like this as well, that you will have to die as well. When you contemplate like this, and bring it back into yourself, that I too will need to die, my body will also be not beautiful like this. And then perhaps peace will arise. It's just like Venerable Yasa. Previously, he had helped to burn corpses, and this image of burning corpses kind of stuck in his mind, and it would come up later. But for yourself, it's similar to like this, but you don't know the path of how to progress, of how to train. So when you're watching your breath and this image comes up, then take that image as your meditation object, and then see that, look at that, and then see it decompose or see it decay, degrade. And then bring this back into yourself, that I too will need to be like this. This body of mine is also composed of earth, water, fire, and air, just like this. And this here is vipassana, this insight coming up. So try this method out.
Dear Ajahn, to further my practice, is it better to live alone? I find there's a lot of conflict living with family members in day-to-day life. They are also critical of Buddhism and Dhamma practice. Thank you, Ajahn.
So finding a peaceful place in order to train and to practice is important. This is what we call kaya viveka, and the seclusion of the body. Because if one lives with many people, with their family and parents and brothers and sisters, then it's possible for there to be quite a lot of chaos. And it can be difficult to find peace then. So if one is able to leave that situation and to live by oneself, then that will give one time to train, to establish one's mindfulness and samadhi well. But if one is not yet in a situation where that's possible, then one should forbear first to use this khanti. But if one can leave and stay by oneself, then that's good. Or if one's able to do that at times, then that's good. And that will help to for you to develop your mind so it becomes better.